This is a report published by Al Jazeera a few days back, in which the reporter is saying that Britain has again refused to apologize for its role in the slave trade. Caribbean countries have been demanding for the last, let's say, like 5, 10 years, that Britain should formally apologize for the role it had in slave trade, and it should pay reparations to the poor people of those countries. This is a very detailed report, and Britain is again adamant, and they are just, no, we won't apologize, and we won't pay any reparations. And there has been a report by an American think tank that says that Britain extracted $25 trillion of wealth by using these poor people as slave labor. And the slave trade started in Britain in 1560. They found it highly profitable, and it peaked in 1760s around that time. And all the big houses, these country houses that they show proudly to the tourists, the manor houses, they have been built with the slave wealth they extracted from these poor Africans. They used as slaves. They treated them like animals. Now Britain is so arrogant that they are, no, just talk about the future. We don't want to go into the past. Britain has committed so many crimes in history. It has got so many skeletons. It is hiding so many skeletons in its cupboard. The British Empire was the most evil empire in the history. And I have read so many books by the British authors. They are trying to portray, oh, it was very good. We were trying to help the poor people. In fact, they were trying to rob the poor people. Recent study done by an Indian economist showed that India extracted $50 trillion of wealth from India. When British people went to India as traders, India was the richest country in the world, just like United States today is. And Indian GDP was 25% of the world. So that's why the Britain was so mad, and they were taking 6 months and 7 months, 8 months sea journey to go to India so that they can trade over there. After 100, 200 years, they got the chance and they started conquering, and the most evil and criminal organization they had created, East India Company, started conquering India, and they treated the people so badly. India was a wealthy country, but after 100 years of rule, where I live, it was 100. Let's like 90 years. In Bengal, it was 200 years. So they left. Once they left, Indians were living in extreme poverty. Now, we have to discuss these things, but the British authors, they are trying to hide these facts now. Slave trade was started by Britain. British wealth is not possible without slave trade. There is a book written by a person, Eric. It was written 1944. I'll discuss it more later on this video, in which he shows that capitalism was not possible without slavery. Is it with capitalism and slavery? I'll discuss it at the end of this video. Britain is responsible for kidnapping something like 10.5 million people, rather 15 million people from Africa. In their ships, they will transport them in most inhuman condition. They will make them work like animals. And most men and women, African men and women, they will just die within 4 or 5 years. They will make them work like animals all day, and 30-year-old man and 30-year-old woman will die within 3 4 years at the age of 34, 35. Now they are telling the world and they are lecturing the world about the human values, about their democratic nature. We have to expose these things now because Britain is hiding so many things in its history and the evil they had committed with the poor people all over the world. We have to now expose these things. Authors like William Dalrymple and all British authors, they are trying to whitewash all these things and show, oh, Britain were very good, we are civilizing the poor people. In fact, they were robbing and they were ruthlessly massacring these people. And they are not discussing these things. India, there were massacres. In Africa, there were massacres. They are hiding these things. These authors don't even discuss this thing. Opium trade, they don't discuss this thing. Now there is a movement, and these Caribbean countries want a reparation of $200 billion from Britain for its role in the slave trade. This is a true fact. All the big country houses that they have built, so many big palatial houses and all tourists, they are showing to the tourists, they have been built with the wealth they have extracted from those poor people. Britain was a very poor country. They themselves admit that in the Elizabethan time they were very poor. And they had never seen cotton clothes. Even in humid and hot weather, they would wear woolen clothes. Now they are telling the people, oh, we are superior. And when the British came to India, they became so arrogant and they were so racist and they were so evil. You can't imagine them. And Wellington, he was an evil man. And the British, they themselves tell that when he became the Prime Minister of Britain, he used to loathe the working class of Britain. He had no sympathy with them. He never approved of any reform that would benefit the working people. So the British, I would blame the British working class. Sorry, the ruling class. The working class was also miserable. They were toiling like other people in the world. It was actually the upper classes of Britain. They were evil. And it is the duty of the modern day historians to unearth the crimes, horrendous crimes that the Britain had committed in its period. And the British Empire, it was the most evil empire. Recently, three economists have been given a Nobel Prize on explaining why some nations fail and why some nations become rich. They have used the case study of the British Raj. As Darren Asimoglu and the two other people, they were given the Nobel Prize. They showed that the British, wherever they went, they robbed the poor people. They created two types of colonies: extractive colonies and settler colonies. India was an extractive colony because it was very difficult for Britain to settle over there. Already people were living there, and there were diseases, and the people would not have accepted British settling over there, and Africa also. So they extracted maximum wealth from there, and they settled in Australia, New Zealand, countries like that, and United States, where the people were very weak, poor, so they massacred them. To tell you the truth, there was a genocide. Now these are true facts that these people are hiding. And the British Museum is full of stolen artifacts from all over the world. Everything is stolen. They were such a big thieves that there is an I mean, the story that a boy asked of British father, why the pyramids there in Egypt? So he said, son, we're going to carry them back to Britain in our ships. So they left them there. So whatever they could carry, they carried there. And in British rule, India was so horrendous. I tell you this thing. See, major famines in India. There were so many famines. They would just take all the food from India and feed to UK. And now they are telling, Oxfam is telling the world, oh, we are very good, we are helping this thing, we are helping the poor people. So they are responsible for the death of something like 200, something like, yeah, 20, 30 million people in the last 40, 50 years of their rule. So these are all data that is quantified now. And this is the Indians living in the sea, their skeletons. There was nothing to eat. Everything they were taking to Britain. Now Oxfam is trying to help the people and all those. We are giving aid. We are not giving any aid. Still today they are stealing wealth from the poor people. In the next video, I'll show how Britain is again stealing wealth. All the corrupt politicians in Asia and Africa, they are being protected by Britain. They steal the wealth from the poor people and they take it to London and buy the property over there, and then the British courts start defending them on minor law points. Britain has created all this system of offshore companies and this hiding of wealth, and they are still extracting wealth. It's high time that people should demand proper apology from the British politicians for the crimes and the evil they had committed to the rest of the world. British Empire was an evil empire. It committed many massacres, it committed genocides, and it robbed the poor people on massive scale. This is the true fact. Whatever William Dalrymple and authors like him are telling, they are all one-sided stories. I've read his book about the return of the King of Afghanistan, and the British ruthlessly murdered the Afghans for resisting the foreign invasion. And he just say, oh, they tried to stand up against them and we killed them, and he's very proud of those things. So just imagine if somebody from Africa and Asia invades Britain, they'll defend their country and then they'll say we have the right. But here they say you don't have the right to defend even yourself. So this is the facts now. These are the facts. And Britain is trying to now behave arrogantly and telling the people we don't have to apologize for any. In fact, Britain was wholly solely responsible for the slave trade. They extracted, as the American think tank has calculated, $25 trillion of wealth. All the wealth, all these, I've told you, these big buildings, they were built with that money. And that these countries, the Antigua, Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, British Virgin Islands, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Grenada, Haiti, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago, they are demanding reparations, and their demand is totally justified. And Britain should at least write off their debt. And they have again, in a future video, I'll show you how they have created a new financial system in which they again trap the poor people by giving them debt at high interest rates. And the aid that they are giving is just a minuscule part, because more than $1 trillion is flowing towards the West again, and the aid they are giving is roughly under $200 billion. So I invite the modern historians that this is the proper topic now they should research and expose the lies that British authors like William Dalrymple and all those the cohorts like him, they are giving about the British rule, benign rule, and how they help the people. They did not help the people, they destroyed the poor people. They should now write history and they should record all the crimes that have been committed by Britain. This is the book that I was talking. Eric Williams was the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I think. He wrote this book. He was an Oxford trained historian, Capitalism and Slavery. See, there is a horrendous condition in which these African people were treated like animals for the benefit of British. They were so greedy and evil people that they did not consider these Africans as humans. See, origin of Negro slavery, development of Negro slave trade, British commerce and the triangular trade, the West India interest, British industry triangular, American Revolution, the development of British capitalism. So capitalism is not possible and industrial revolution is not possible without slave trade. They talk in the videos. They are still saying the this industrial revolution started. Because industrial revolution is not possible without slave trade and without India stealing wealth from India. Eric Williams was the first post-independent Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and was Oxford-trained historian. We should support this movement by the Caribbean countries. For Britain should formally apologize for the slave trade, formally apologize for the evils it did in the world and in the British Empire, the evil that it committed with other people. It should apologize for the evil rule, the evil it committed in India and the crimes that it had committed. And it is the duty of historians, modern day historians, to record these things because the British authors they are trying to erase them and they we are very good at this thing, that thing. We should write history as it was and we should show how evil the British were. Racist, arrogant, evil.